Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. Our topic is that he wants to move on because he isn't happy. Welcome back. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. So he's telling you that he wants to move on because he isn't happy. And most people, most women take that as sort of the end. What can I do? What should I do? How do I save our marriage? Is there anything that I can do, or is it just too late? So let me tell you that the approach that we take at the Marriage Foundation is non-traditional. We don't dig into what you did wrong or whether he's being a creep and not giving you a chance. We don't want to blame anybody. What we really want to do is we want to heal your marriage. And so I urge you to take a look at this episode in your life as a wake-up call, as a reminder that there has to be something you can do. There's got to be something that will work, that will save your marriage, but more, that will turn your marriage around. And I know that may sound ridiculously optimistic, but I'm telling you that it is true. I used to be a divorce mediator until 2001 in San Diego, California, when a couple asked me to, instead of close their marriage and distribute their family and their assets, they asked me to save their marriage, to help them understand better how to live marriage. And mostly in those days, the emphasis was on communication. It was a trend. And, this kind of interesting because a lot of what you'll see out there that is traditional is trendy. We were going through a lot of setting of boundaries, of communicating better, of dressing sexy, of cooking great meals for him, and things like that. They're just trendy because none of those things go to the heart of the matter. Now, he's not happy. Shouldn't surprise you because you're not happy either in your marriage. You're living in your marriage right now because it's what you do. Maybe because you want to protect the children, maybe because you don't know what else to do but be married to him. And so you're not bubbling over with happiness. Let's go back again to 2001. So this couple asked me to help them save their marriage. And I spoke to my friends, the therapist who sent me my clients, and I told them what happened. And they said, all of them, basically. I didn't just speak to one, I spoke to a few. And I asked them what I should do. And they said, well, you're ideal, Paul, because you're really good at listening, at laying things out. See if you can find what's wrong and help them solve it. That didn't sound right to me. It just seemed like it was not only simplistic, but complicated at the same time. And how is that going to really help them really stay together? So I started asking people an interesting question. And this is a question I'd like you to answer. And please put it in the comments. Why did you get married in the first place? Now, if you're like most people, and I asked hundreds of people, even waiting in line at Starbucks, I asked people, why did you get married? What's the draw? And number one was, well, I fell in love. But that's not really true. It didn't ring as true to me. There's got to be something else. Because I think that we want to get married before we're open to falling in love. And so a lot of people, their second, you might say, was want to have children. And third was, well, I don't want to die by myself. I want to have someone there with me. I want my soulmate, my friend, to be with me. Okay, and that all made sense, but I thought, well, these are not universal. They don't apply to everyone. Not everyone wants to have a family. Honestly, not everyone even falls in love right away. Most do. And so I thought, okay, what is the underlying feature to all of these? And again, put your answer in the comments section. But what I finally arrived at after much prayer, to be honest with you, and thought, but I think it was the prayer, is that all of us want to be happy. There's two things that we crave, that we absolutely crave. And again, my background, as you know, I was a divorce mediator, so I'm not a psychologist. I mean, I got a little bit of psychology, like what's the list of things, what's the most important things, the driving forces. I can't remember the chap's name who put that together, and it's commonly adhered to. But it was wrong anyway. What is true is that we crave happiness. We crave it. We really want to be happy. And you could see how so many people do the stupidest things to be happy, and they don't achieve happiness. And the other thing that we crave, that sort of comes before happiness, is love. When we feel love, we are happy. In fact, you cannot even be unhappy when you're feeling love, which reminds me of a great story. And it's a great story because it illustrates this point. So one day, darkness went to God. You got to use your imagination a little bit. Darkness went to God and said, Lord, I'm being harassed constantly by light. Can you please help me? Tell light to back off. Give me a break. And God, of course, loves everyone, and so said, oh yeah, I'll talk to light. So he summoned light, and darkness left. And God said, I just got a complaint from darkness, who said that you're harassing him, and he wants you to stop. Could you please give darkness a break? And light said, Lord, I'll do anything. It's for you. But Lord, what is darkness? You see? Because when light is introduced, there's no more darkness. When joy is introduced, there's no more sadness. When love is introduced, sadness is impossible. And so it brings us to this very important topic, you might say, that is at the very core of the teachings about marriage that I developed over time. Now, if you want to study these teachings, which I, of course, recommend, I have 2 books that I wrote a long time ago, and one is called Lessons for a Happy Marriage, and you could check it out on Amazon or go to our website, and the other is Breaking the Cycle, and I wrote that one in order to help psychologists understand my teachings. We have a lot of trained marriage counselors now at the Marriage Foundation, and you could even write to them. There's a link below. It says Ask a Counselor, and they will give you advice based on the question that you ask them. Even better, we have a 12-week course that is, of course, very inexpensive. You could sign up, you get a 3-day free trial, and you can have a plan that's only under $10 a week. So don't pass on those. But the essence of the teachings that I feel I discovered is that we should learn about marriage. And this premise of really cultivating love in our marriage is at the heart of this, pun intended, or play on words intended. at the heart of your marriage should be love. And it's very interesting because we know that. And we don't then take the steps to make love the emphasis of our marriage, So what happens is we know all this stuff. It's all common sense. I used to hear this all the time way back in the beginning, that everything I teach is common sense. How come I don't know that? And yet we don't. And it's because we're not taught. Where did you learn how to be married? Probably the same place I did originally, watching sitcoms, where I saw sarcasm and laughing at the other's expense and treating each other poorly was the norm, and movies or even reading novels. And nowadays it's about, getting articles on the web. And I've written a bunch of articles too. But my articles are different. They're non-traditional. So here's the point that I'm driving at. The point is, number one, don't give up. The fact that you know your husband wants to move on is telling you that there's still room for you to do a lot to change, not his mind, because then you're kind of playing, you're role playing. Change yourself in certain ways, and I guide all that, especially in the 12-week course. Change yourself, which will change the dynamic of your interactions, which will change your marriage. To illustrate this one, it won't be as long a story. You can't get a cat to behave like a dog. Cat is a cat. And you can't get a dog to behave like a cat. So what happens is, because our mind has all of these habits, we have to learn how to change these habits. And everyone says, oh no, it's impossible to change habits. It would be like saying, okay, don't think about a pink elephant. That's the old thing we used to hear as kids, but it's not true. We have free will. We have volition. What we don't have until now are methods and techniques to control our minds, change ourselves. And then what we do, according to the course that I provide, is, and it happens at the same time, we cleanse our mind of all the negative stuff, the non-beneficial things that undermine your marriage. As we are learning all about marriage, and in the wife's case, all about men, and even all about women, what's driving so much of what happens within you. And you're learning then how to cultivate the love. We can only cultivate it. We can't create love. But we have the power to decide to give love. And frankly, that's what it takes. Now, if all you're doing is giving love, and you're behaving in ways that define you as a loving toward him person, from his point of view, he's going to be tremendously influenced, and that's how it works. And we have thousands of people who can attest to that. So he wants to move on because he isn't happy. Shouldn't surprise you. But I hope that what does surprise you now is that there's much more you can do about it than dwell on it in a negative way. You can see it as, wow, now, based on what Paul is talking about, I can recreate my marriage so that it's exactly what it's meant to be, because we're not even taught that. We're not, people go, well, what is marriage all about? And my brother told me he was at the deathbed of an aunt of ours, and she said, Ronnie, this is it. This is all that life is about. It's not. Life is about living in joy. Marriage is like the biggest chunk of your life, and it's about living your marriage in joy. You can do it. You can. So I'm glad you stopped by. If you think this is helpful for others, share it. You know, we all have social media now, and like the video and see my other videos. I think you'll find them helpful. But don't put this off too long, because you want to save your marriage, and you don't have to go into the traditional methods of finding out what's wrong. You know what's wrong. He isn't happy. You're not happy. What do you do about that? You find the things that make you happy, which is an inward effort. It's an inner effort. It's not buying a new car or getting a raise or anything like that. It's an inner effort. We literally have the ability to be happy at will. So thank you for stopping by. I'm Paul Friedman. God bless you, and take care.